This all started when I needed to learn more about AI to deal with Frankenstein's monster roaming through the mansion. I went into a great tutorial series on smart AI. Go check him out, I've provided a link down in the description. It was about halfway through these videos that a terrible idea was infiltrating my brain. So the downside is, for the past 3 months, no work has been done on the Silver Key. But I have to look at the positives. This amazing journey hasn't been solely about making the Silver Key. It's been about learning game development and enjoying the time spent. Imagine with me, we take a little bit of Ocarina of Time, mixed with Ravenloft, add a dash of Castlevania and a bit of Dark Souls, and you have yourself an N64 era gothic horror action adventure game. That's the idea anyway. I haven't gone too overboard yet, wanting to really pin down the gameplay elements before any time or energy is spent on level design, visuals, and polish. The first thing I did was create a list of mechanics that I knew I would want in order to make a playable proof of concept. Currently, I am one checkbox away from finishing that list. Unreal's third-person template comes with a character controller that is mostly built with all the basic locomotion features. But one thing I needed to add was walking as well as running backwards and sideways. So far, every animation I've used has come from Mixamo and has been easy to implement onto the Unreal skeleton using the Mixamo converter. When it comes time to create the character model, I've read that it's easiest to use Unreal's built-in skeleton. This way I won't have to go through and retarget all the animations. I can just change the mesh on the existing character. I've set up a 3-hit combo for the character. If you attack in rapid succession, you will perform 3 hits and then the combo will reset. Currently, the attack function creates a sphere trace that extends from the weapon during specific points of the animation. This is done using anim notifies while the model plays an animation montage. This also allows me to easily swap out the weapon for something else and use the same code. If the player is moving and presses the roll button, the character will roll in that direction. This was perhaps the easiest thing on my list to add. When near a climbable wall, jumping will cause the character to start climbing that wall. From there, your movement is restricted to just 2 axes, allowing you to move along the wall. Reaching the top, the character will pull up onto the ledge. This action is also performed if you're near a short enough ledge to reach without needing to climb. I wanted to have a collection of monsters that the player could reference. Throughout the game, you can collect pages of the Liber Tenebrarum. This bestiary will not only be something to complete within the game, but also give the player information and maybe a hint or two about the monsters that inhabit the world. I was able to import the inventory system that I had used for the Silver Key, with a couple of added capabilities. The game utilizes 3 separate inventories, although the player will only see it as one. When picking up an item, the game will separate that item as to whether it is a page from the bestiary, a gold coin, or a usable item. The bestiary page uses the first inventory to show information that you have collected. The amount of gold coins is read from the second inventory, displayed under your items. And the usable items that you have collected will display like a normal inventory system. While I haven't come up with an exhaustive list of basic items, I have created the backend that will work hand in hand with the inventory for functioning items. For example, the health potion can be used from your inventory and brings me to my next bullet point, healing. Items such as the healing potion or bandages will heal the player for a given amount. The menu has been imported from the Silver Key without any needed changes yet. It's very basic, but does save things like volumes. While I don't foresee myself going down the RPG road of stats and character customization, I have always liked the old point-and-click Quest for Glory style games. In that game, you were able to choose between a fighter, a magic user, and a thief, giving you 3 different ways to play through the game. I would like to do the same, although I am currently only working on the fighter character, so that scope creep doesn't keep me from finishing before I've even started. I've created 5 very basic enemies from what I have learned in the Smart AI tutorials. The zombie is a melee enemy and will run up and attack the player. The plague zombie is exactly the same as the zombie, but with the added chance to infect the player when it hits. The archer will run around the player, preferring to shoot at a distance. The ghost will slowly float towards the player, unable to be attacked, but it will deal damage if it hits you. The wraith is a slow-moving monster that deals massive damage with its 2-handed weapon. Killing any enemy will have the possibility of dropping an item. I didn't plan on having status effects in my original list, but when I decided to do the plague zombie, I sort of forced my hand. I've only created 1 status so far, and that is poisoned. When the player is poisoned, their health will tick down every 3 seconds for a random amount of time. Doors took a lot of time in the Silver Key. Right now I have a basic door that opens when you get near it and shuts behind you. Simple and effective. If you have dungeons, you have to have traps. The one working trap so far is a line of fire. It clicks on and off and damages the player when they stand on it. But it is an easy trap template that I can use to create wall spears, pendulums, or other dangerous devices, without having to add much to the coding. I can also use the code that I learned for the archer to create poisoned wall darts or fireballs. I set up an extremely basic environment to run around in, fight enemies, do some jumping, some climbing, get a key, and enter the boss room. I would like a boss with 2 to 3 phases. This is the final checkbox that I have to complete my game loop. Currently the boss has a range attack with 3 arrows. It can summon ghosts, and if it's hurt enough, it can drain the energy of one of those ghosts to heal itself, raising a barrier to prevent an eruption. I would also like to create a small area of attack around itself, similar to the shield barrier, and probably one other action. If you have any ideas for this boss, leave it down in the comments. A couple things I didn't plan on but ended up doing anyway. I imported the sprint function from the Silver Key. I made some breakable crates using Unreal's fracture system, and made some moving platforms. They were super easy to make and I think really add to that retro game feel. And that's my project so far. I'm not giving up on the Silver Key, but I've put it on the back burner for now since I think it's always important to work on whatever brings you the most joy and keeps you learning and creative. I will keep you all updated on whatever I'm working on, and I really appreciate you coming along with me on this journey through its unexpected turns. And as always, my friends, remember to carry a light into the darkness.